Hi, welcome back to Movie. Today, I'm going to explain a comedy romance film from 2011 titled, The Change-Up. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie begins with two best friends, Dave, a successful lawyer, and Mitch, a rising actor. Dave is happily married with 3 children. Mitch, on the other hand, is enjoying his various hookups with the women. In the morning, Dave goes to his office, where he bumps into Sabrina, his hot attractive co-worker. Although she keeps trying to flirt with him, he doesn't respond to her. Later, Dave receives a call from Mitch to ask him if they're still hanging out, and if he wants to watch the game on that night. Dave confirms it, but Mitch has to hang up since his dad's at his door. To his surprise, he learns that his dad's getting married the following week. Nevertheless, he tells him that he won't be able to come. Later, Dave's giving the twins a bath, when his wife Jamie walks in the bathroom and tells him that she's dead thirsty, and wants to hook up all night. However, he informs her that he's going out with Mitch. Disappointed, she reschedules it to the following Monday. Meanwhile, Mitch arrives at David's house, where he greets Kara, Dave's daughter, with a hug. Afterwards, Mitch takes Dave in his car to go see the game. Evidently, Mitch tries to get high in the car, but Dave throws the stick out of the window. At the bar, Mitch and Dave watch the game over drinks. They both catch up on their lives, since they haven't seen each other for months. Mitch informs Dave about his newest crush, Tatiana. On the other hand, Dave vents to him about Sabrina, who he admits that she's hot and attractive. However, Dave feels that he's missing out on life, as Mitch is telling him about his crazy injection games. Afterwards, Mitch tries to comfort Dave, by telling him that he has the life he wants. But, Dave's still jealous of his friend's life. Evidently, they're drunk, so they decide to pee in a fountain. As they're doing it, they both say that they want the other man's life. Coincidentally, all the lights in the city black out for a few seconds, before Mitch and Dave call it a night and go home. The following day, Mitch wakes up to find himself in Dave's bed, with Jamie next to him. To his surprise, he finds out that he's in Dave's body. On the other hand, Dave wakes up to the sound of Mitch yelling at him. Confused, he's trying to figure out what's he doing in Mitch's apartment. When he answers the door, he finds out that they swapped bodies. Since he thinks it's a nightmare, he tries to choke Mitch. However, they realize that they caused this, by wishing upon the fountain the previous night. A while after, Mitch and Dave race to the fountain, only to find out that it's getting restored by the district manager. So, they try to go to his office, but they don't get any help from the secretary. Freaking out, Dave realizes that he has an important meeting to attend. So, Mitch decides to help his friend out, by going to the meeting on his behalf. Therefore, he instructs Mitch to change into a suit, and get the merging documents from Sabrina. On the other hand, Mitch tells Dave to go to his movie set, and act instead of him. Before he leaves, he reminds Mitch to pick Kara up from ballet class. A while later, Mitch arrives in Dave's office, to find Sabrina waiting for him with the documents. Mitch goes into the meeting late, drawing everyone's attention to him. Evidently, he gets asked a question regarding the documents. Making a fool out of himself, he embarrasses his managers so much, that the other firm managers decide to walk out. Luckily, he manages to convince his manager, that it's a part of his plan to get him to sign. Meanwhile, Dave's getting ready for the role, when he finds out Mitch is a hookup actor. Although he tries to leave, the director scares him off. So, he's forced to do the scene, while having no idea about his lines. However, he draws the line at something in the scene, but the director threatens to kill him if he doesn't do as he's told. A few hours later, Mitch picks up Kara from her ballet class. Shocked, he sees Kara getting bullied in front of him. So, he demands that she beats her up, since violence is always the answer. At night, Mitch and Dave meet together to discuss what happened. Mitch then tells Dave how the deal went, leaving Dave horrified because they're getting sued. On the other hand, Dave's disgusted with the fact his friend's a pawn actor. So, Dave decides to go to his house, to tell Jamie the truth. However, she doesn't seem to believe them. Therefore, he forces Jamie to ask him questions only he would know the answer to. Somehow, Dave doesn't know the answers to any of them. In the end, Jamie's convinced that they're bluffing. Outside, Mitch asks Dave what to do if Jamie tries to have sex with him. Funny enough, he and Jamie haven't had sex in months, so he's not worried about that. A while after, Dave goes back to Mitch's apartment, where he finds overleft food in the fridge. On the other hand, Mitch is turning dinner with Dave's family into a disaster. A few hours later, Dave receives a call from Tatiana, telling him she's coming over. Freaking out, he tries to have Mitch advise him on what to do, where he just yells at him to not screw it up for him. With newfound motivation, he finds the courage to sleep with her. Shockingly enough, she turns out to be 8 months pregnant. So, he refuses to sleep with her, which has her storming out of his apartment. Meanwhile, Jamie's seducing Mitch. But, that seduction goes away when he watches her using the bathroom. Therefore, they both go to bed without doing anything. However, Mitch wakes up a few hours later, to Jamie telling him to go feed the kids. Although Mitch doesn't want to do it, Jamie lashes out at him. So, he calls Dave to help him out a deal with the twins. When he tells him to go to the kitchen, he gets stuck with the twins trying to hurt themselves. In the end, he yells at Dave to find the fountain, since he can't take it anymore. The following morning, Dave goes to the district manager, to find where the fountain was removed to. However, he informs him that it'll take them 3 weeks to approve his notice. A while after, Dave goes to see Jamie, where he finds her breaking down about Mitch. She then asks him if he's having an affair, but Dave immediately denies it. In the end, she informs him she's thinking of getting a divorce, just as Mitch walks in on them. In the bathroom, Dave fights with Mitch for ruining his life. As a last resort, he teaches Mitch everything about his life, from wearing suits to grocery shopping. In the end, he makes sure to let him know he can't be attracted to any women he meets. A while after, Sabrina walks in to inform Mitch that the merging is happening in 2 days. Amazed, Mitch tries to set her up with Dave, so he can get a taste of the single life. After Dave leaves, Mitch gets a call from his dad, desperate to hang out with him. Nevertheless, he's forced to agree. A few hours later, Mitch meets with his dad, where he talks with him, not knowing that he's not Dave. So, he tries to convince him to talk to Mitch, and convince him to attend his wedding. However, Mitch informs him that it's not possible. Throughout the days, Mitch tries to get the hang of Dave's life. He then has to watch reruns of Law and Order, to learn more about Dave's profession. At the end of the week, Mitch and Jamie attend Kara's ballet show. When the girl tries to bully her, Kara responds with physical violence. Stunned, Mitch cheers for her in the crowd. On the way home, Jamie and Mitch encourage Kara for standing up for herself, but her mom tells her not to do it again. At home, Kara and Mitch are about to have sex, but Mitch is trying to get it over with as quickly as possible. Evidently, Mitch isn't able to get into it. Although she's understanding, she doesn't voice her feelings. A few days later, Dave calls Mitch to see what he's doing with Jamie. However, a while later, he bumps into her at the grocery store, where he finds out that Mitch has been doing as he was told. Relieved, he decides to go home. Throughout the week, Dave winds down as he spends time by himself. Meanwhile, Mitch is drowning in work. He then receives a call from Dave, who's panicking about his date with Sabrina. So, he comes over to help him get dressed. At night, Dave sees Sabrina walking in, stunned by her beauty. But, she's not here to get to know him, she's only here at Mitch's request. To his surprise, he finds out that Sabrina had feelings for Dave. Evidently, he has to change the subject, before he ruins the date. Somehow, he manages to win Sabrina over by being himself. So, after dinner, she asks him to do something with her, that they'll regret the following morning. They then go to a tattoo shop to get inked, before he takes her home. Although she doesn't invite him, she tells him to call her again. The next morning, Jamie and Mitch talk about their anniversary party, where he finds out that Dave didn't want to invite him since he's embarrassed by him. Hurt, Mitch is speechless that his best friend is betraying him. Meanwhile, Dave receives a phone call from the district, telling him that they found the fountain. When he goes to his office, he bumps into Sabrina, who asks him out to a baseball game. He then finds out that Mitch received a call as well. However, they don't want to re-swap bodies at the moment, since both of them are enjoying the other man's life. So, they agree to wait for another week. At night, Jamie sits alone at the bar waiting for Mitch to come, but Mitch is working late at the office for the mediation. So, she calls him, but he doesn't recognize her voice. As a last resort, she goes home to vent to her babysitter, Katie, and breaks down crying in the middle of it. The following day, Dave and Sabrina go on a date together, while Mitch is negotiating the deal of the merging. However, Mitch is not getting the deal that Dave wants. Since they're only getting $625 million, he wants another extra $100 million. Luckily, he manages to convince the CEO to follow his lead, which gets them what they want in the end. At night, Jamie drives Mitch to his work dinner, where they're announcing him a partner of the firm. Meanwhile, Dave invites Sabrina to Mitch's apartment. Evidently, she initiates sex with him, but he's too nervous to take control. In the end, he tells Sabrina he wants to go home, and so he does. However, He finds out that Mitch has been promoted to a partner in his firm, so he races to the country club. While Mitch is leaving the party, since he feels like an imposter, Dave enters. Dave, however, kisses Jamie without a thought, even though it looks weird in front of everyone. Therefore, Mitch and Dave get in the car to go to the fountain. Although the fountain's in the middle of a mall, they pee in front of everyone. Mitch then tries to confront Dave about not inviting him to his anniversary party. Dave answers that he's proud of him now for the man he became. Luckily, they manage to turn back into their bodies, before the security guards catch up to them. A few hours later, Dave wakes up in his bed with Jamie next to him. Relieved, he runs to the mirror to find himself in his old body again. He instantly wakes Jamie up, to apologize to her for neglecting her. When he tells her he'll quit his job for her, she refuses to let him do that. He then hears the twins crying, so he goes to see them after not doing so for weeks. Also, Kara walks into the room, to tell him about everything she learned from school, and Dave listens to every word. Meanwhile, Mitch wakes up in his bed. He also runs to the mirror, and he finds himself in his body. As if on cue, Sabrina knocks on his door, since she forgot her purse. However, he decides to invite her for breakfast. After a while, Mitch attends his dad's wedding, where he's surprised to find him. A month later, Mitch is invited to Dave and Jamie's anniversary party. Evidently, he makes them proud with his speech. In the end, Mitch and Dave are happy to be back in their own lives. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hit that like button if you did, subscribe if you're new. And at last, I'll say stay well, stay safe, thanks.